Abraham Lincoln, the great liberator, the greatest president in history of the United States. He guided the nation through its darkest period, successfully abolishing slavery and modernizing the U.S. economy. Few people know that before becoming the esteemed President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln was once an ordinary laborer. So, how did he transform from an obscure laborer to the greatest president in American history, someone who would change the course of the nation's history for centuries to come? Let me show you. The youth of a great statesman. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in the state of Kentucky, USA. Many people often hear that Lincoln came from an uneducated, impoverished farming family with illiterate parents. This is a common introduction to highlight the challenges faced by the brilliant president, but it's not entirely accurate. His parents were, in fact, small-scale farmers in Kentucky. While their farming endeavors were not very prosperous, the Lincoln family was not in extreme poverty. Today, the farmstead still stands as part of a national historic site where Abraham Lincoln was born. Contrary to popular belief, his father was not illiterate. He was even a member of the local jury, a group of respected citizens chosen to decide local cases. A significant event befell the Lincoln family when they were wronged, and they could not stand up against powerful individuals. They lost all their family assets, leaving his father with nothing after years of hard work. Everything seemed to crumble for him and his family. Witnessing his father's powerlessness against those in authority may have driven him to become a brilliant lawyer. After his family fell into financial ruin, Lincoln went through immense suffering. But his challenges did not stop there. The pinnacle of hardship is the loss of his mother and sister, along with frequent relocations due to the war. All of these experiences compelled him to become someone who abhorred war, favored peace, and deeply empathized with the enslaved population. These events had a profound influence on his later political career. At the age of 20, the tumultuous events of his early life drove the young man to make a decisive choice to embark on a journey in search of a new life. An opportunity to change not only his own destiny, but that of his family as well. A young man with no friends, no formal education, and not a penny to his name ventured into the world of intellect and power. The future great president began his illustrious career from ground zero. Lincoln initiated his new life by venturing into his first business endeavor. He purchased a small general store, but it seemed that the path of entrepreneurship was not his forte. After struggling for a while, he incurred substantial losses. And once again, Lincoln found himself with nothing. Despite losing everything, failure did not deter him. Recognizing that business wasn't the right choice for him, he ventured into a new career in politics by running for the Illinois state legislature. This decision was perhaps the most pivotal and apt choice of Lincoln's life. While he might not have possessed outstanding business acumen, this decision allowed Lincoln to discover an extraordinary talent within himself, the power of eloquence. A young man not yet 30, without wealth, connections, or formal education, astounded the local populace with the pinnacle of his oratory skills. Charm, passion, and undeniable talent were qualities that people had to acknowledge in Lincoln. Even though he was young, the extensive social knowledge he had acquired over many years of navigating the world outside of formal education was what endeared him to his supporters. However, once again, as if it were a twist of fate, Lincoln faced failure. It seemed that the affection the people held for him did not align with the way those in power perceived this young man. Lincoln could not secure victory in his initial attempt at running for office. The setback in his electoral bid did not lead him to give up. In order to survive during those challenging times, he took on various jobs, such as working in the post office and surveying land. Throughout this period, he remained passionately committed to studying classic legal texts. In 1834, after numerous efforts, Lincoln succeeded in becoming a lawyer and was elected to the state legislature. 2 years later, he became an attorney in the United States Circuit Court and relocated to Illinois. With a firm footing in the political arena, he tirelessly advocated for humanitarianism and the abolition of slavery. However, for politics, he is still too weak, so his progressive proposals were consistently refused. Honest Abe. From the early 1830, Lincoln was a steadfast member of the Whig Party, a faction advocating progressive policies such as modernizing the economy through banking, implementing protective tariffs to fund internal development like railroads, and endorsing urbanization. In 1846, Lincoln was elected to the United States House of Representatives, serving a 2-year term. Amidst a multitude of other qualified candidates, Lincoln stood out. He was the sole representative from Illinois to belong to the Whig Party, a progressive-leaning faction. Becoming a member of a party with progressive ideals, Lincoln faced a challenging political landscape, but he quickly asserted his loyalty to the party by voting in alignment with its principles and delivering speeches in support of the party's agenda. In a short span of time, with the backing of the Whig Party, a bill aimed at abolishing slavery in the District of Columbia was proposed. This was a significant turning point in the history of the United States. However, the bill did not pass because it seriously threatened the interests of the ruling elite at that time. Not content with merely being a run-of-the-mill party member with aspirations for reforming America, Lincoln publicly criticized the incumbent president of the time, James Polk, as a tyrant and ineffectual leader. Accusing him of seeking military glory through a reckless and aggressive pursuit of war with Mexico, Lincoln exposed Polk's deceit with sharp arguments. When Polk falsely claimed that Mexican soldiers had initiated hostilities with the United States, Lincoln demanded that the sitting president provide authentic evidence of Mexico's preparations for war. However, this demand failed to gain approval in the U.S. Congress, and the media largely ignored it, allowing the matter to fade into obscurity. Although the incident may have faded away, Lincoln had truly become a thorn in the side of the ruling elite, so the danger is always lurking around him. In order to preserve his life and continue his political career, Lincoln was forced to publicly apologize to Polk. After that, Lincoln's political path became significantly more challenging. By the end of 1846, the presidential candidate nominated by his party did not win, leading to a sharp decline in the party's influence. Amidst the turmoil and constant lurking dangers, Lincoln made the decision to resign and return to his profession as a lawyer. It seemed like the life of this great individual would return to its former ordinariness. But no, the temporary end of his political career marked the beginning of a great lawyer. Returning to Springfield after successfully escaping the harsh political battleground, with his talent, he transformed this region into a place where justice was administered most fairly throughout the United States. With his innate abilities, Lincoln easily handled the most challenging legal disputes in the Western region. His reputation echoed far and wide. His good name spread, and the name Abraham Lincoln once again appeared before the United States Supreme Court as he represented a case involving a shipwreck collision with a bridge. In the field of law, he was so skilled, but few knew that he was also a talented shipbuilder. In 1849, he was granted a patent for a device related to navigating boats on shallow waters. Although this idea was never commercialized, Lincoln remained the only U.S. president to have been granted a patent. During his time as a lawyer, Lincoln appeared before the Illinois Supreme Court in 175 cases. In 51 of these cases, he was the sole defense attorney for his clients, and 31 of these cases resulted in favorable judgments. Lincoln was beloved by the people and earned the nickname Honest Abe. His reputation for honesty and fairness helped him gain tremendous recognition. The day he returned to the political arena and put pen to the pages of American history was not far off. Abraham Lincoln, the rail splitter. Even in his days as a lawyer, the future president had a deep empathy for enslaved individuals. Under Lincoln's influence, the institution of slavery in the South gradually lost its influence in the West. Although this was crucial, it posed a serious threat to the high-ranking officials of the United States. As a result, Lincoln encountered significant obstacles in pursuing his vision of an equal society without slavery. Faced with the strong growth of the anti-slavery movement, the ruling officials passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854. Almost all of Lincoln's proposals were rejected during this time. However, for a visionary and sharp-witted individual like Lincoln, he understood that to secure freedom for the lower classes of society, he needed to become a prominent figure in society. Not just in a small state, but across the entire United States. This drove him back to the political arena. Collaborating with Senator Stephen Douglas, who would later become his direct rival in the presidential election, Lincoln managed to pass several progressive policies related to slavery in the United States. The only point of contention was Douglas's proposal to allow local residents to decide whether they would accept the abolition of slavery, a notion that Lincoln opposed. He realized that if he agreed with Douglas, the law he had dedicated years to pass would lose its effectiveness. Even today, racial discrimination in the United States remains a serious issue. Therefore, if at that time, Lincoln had allowed the people to decide for themselves, it is almost certain that white Americans would never have accepted peaceful and equal coexistence with black Americans in all aspects of life. In fact, some lawmakers considered living with black Americans as a crime, an insult to white people, and believed it would lower the status of the United States. On October 16, 1854, in the Peoria speech, Lincoln declared his anti-slavery stance, paving the way for his future presidential journey. He represented the Whig Party in the United States Senate elections. After leading in the first 6 rounds of voting in Illinois, support for Lincoln gradually waned. To gain strong support, Lincoln decided to establish his own political party. With his achievements, Lincoln successfully persuaded Whig Party members that his party was built on the principles of democracy and freedom, leading to the birth of the Republican Party. American history took a new turn. At the party convention in 1856, Lincoln was nominated for the vice presidency. Just a year later, Lincoln delivered his first speech, bringing hope to enslaved people by asserting that all people were equal in terms of skin color, physique, intelligence, moral development, and social ability. The division of social classes, he argued, would lead to chaos and misery for the people. His speech served as a call to unite Republican Party members across the North. In 1858, people witnessed the famous debates between Lincoln and Douglas during their campaign for the Senate, which became some of the most renowned political debates in American history. Lincoln warned that slavery was threatening the values of the Republican theory. On principle, all people were created equal. Meanwhile, Douglas emphasized the right of local residents to decide whether they would accept slavery or not. The debates between the two were heated, but in the end, Douglas was elected because he vigorously protected the interests of white Americans, who had absolute influence in American society at that time. Once again, luck did not favor Lincoln despite his years of effort. However, with his exceptional oratory skills, he became famous in the political arena. In early 1860, party leaders in New York invited Lincoln to speak at Cooper Union, an institution that included influential figures within the Republican Party. He put forth numerous arguments about ethics, society, and humanity in order to abolish slavery, bring about equality and justice to society, and protect the underprivileged. His display of leadership, intelligence, wisdom, and compelling arguments catapulted Lincoln into the ranks of top politicians within the party. His political path from here became smoother than ever. Starting as a young man with many unfortunate throughout his youth, Lincoln has now become one of the most respected figures in America. He transcended the biases of white Americans and stood up for the suffering and the oppressed. But will his path to pursue righteousness be easy? In the next video, we will discuss how Abraham Lincoln managed to lead the United States through its darkest times. Let's subscribe for more video about history.